Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss, where today I'll be exploring the sci-fi action movie The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt, and explain the ending while also going over the many high-concept facets of this film. This is a movie that many people have been waiting to see for a very long time, as it was completed in January of 2020, right before the global health crisis shut down every production. But since most movie theaters were still closed for most of the entire year, The Tomorrow War lost its original distributor Paramount and was then purchased by Amazon in a multi-million-dollar deal. The company has now released it on their streaming service Amazon Prime, while also advertising it heavily, as the company hopes to have a footprint in the ever-growing market of streaming service titans. Chris McKay directed the movie, and you may know him from his work with Robot Chicken, as well as being the director of the Lego Batman movie, and he is set to direct films about the characters Johnny Quest and Nightwing in the near future. Chris Pratt was very invested in this film, as it is not only a starring vehicle for him, but he acted as executive producer along with many others. One of which is David S. Goyer, who is known for writing the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, the Blade trilogy, as well as Superman vs. Batman, and being the writer of several games in the Call of Duty game franchise. I think you can really see the influence of Mr. Goyer in the battle scenes, as at times it does feel like you're playing a video game like Call of Duty. Also, the aliens, which I'm going to go into in depth later, did seem like something from a Blade movie, as they were absolutely horrifying and do not go out quietly or neatly. But all in all, I thought this was a very fun movie with some complex facets, so I thought I would go into them in depth here to help with any questions you may have. If you still have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I would love to talk about it. If this is your first time here on the channel, my name is Eric and I cover all of my favorite sci-fi movies and series here. So if you're a fan of sci-fi, please hit that subscribe button. I always have giveaways going for subscribers, and speaking of which, the winner of the June giveaway is up on the screen now. Please contact me and I will send you a free copy of the first season of Star Trek Lower Decks on Blu-ray. Stick around until the end of this video to find out about the next giveaway I will have going for you misfits who have subscribed and support the channel. I very much appreciate it, and even if you just clicked on this video, I thank you for that as well. The Tomorrow War starts very fast as we meet Chris Pratt's Dan Forrester character at a family party. With some quick exposition, we learn that he is a family man that has served in the military, but is now a high school science teacher. That last part definitely sounds familiar, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were some Breaking Bad fans in the writer's room of this movie, because this is not the only parallel to the series and the Walter White character that I found in this film. But if you know what scene I'm going to reference, put it in the comments now. Although he seems to be a man with a loving family, Dan Forrester is still uneasy about his station in life, and is desperate to learn what he is destined for. Unfortunately for him, karma answers him pretty swiftly, as we see a soccer match interrupted by soldiers from 30 years into the future. The commanding officer, who must have known to wear a Bluetooth lavalier mic so that the crowd would hear her, explains that their sons and daughters are fighting a war against an alien species in the future. This war is going so poorly for the human race that they are using time travel to send people back and forward in time to fight this threat. So let's just talk about time travel in regard to this movie right now, because if you don't get it, the rest of the movie is pretty hard to reconcile. At one point, one of the individuals who traveled from the future explains that time travel is like two rafts on an ever-flowing river, and since the river never stops, you can't go back again after you start down the river. But honestly, I think it is easier to consider one timeline really, and that is the past in this case. For instance, my first question after finding out that people were sent in 1 week intervals to the future was, why not send everyone from our time 1 week at a time, but then send them all to the same time in the future? So instead of there being weekly deployments, it would be one huge deployment and at the earliest possible year so that they could stop the war as soon as possible. But in reality, this would only be the correct timeline of the last group of soldiers sent back. Have I lost you yet? Just bear with me, and really if you are a fan of Family Guy or The Avengers, this should make perfect sense to you now. Because in the Family Guy episode named Back to the Pilot, Stewie explains time travel in a similar manner, and in that show's case, the characters must go back in time to before they make a change, which removes them from existence altogether. Similarly, in Avengers Endgame, Steve Rogers must go back and undo what those characters did so that the future they created can still go forth without being changed by events in the past. So in the Tomorrow War in the past, they must consistently send people back and forth to the future in the same interval so as not to create a new timeline, which depending on their actions could end their plan. That is also why they only send people forward who have died before the events of the future war and send back soldiers who are not yet born. This eliminates the possibility of creating a new timeline that exists that would eliminate the people in the future and possibly stop the time machine from being built in the first place. I come back to this when I discuss the ending, but if at this point you have any questions or thoughts, please let me know in the comments. Now once they get to the future, it has already been decimated by this alien species. They are called white spikes throughout the movie, and as I mentioned, they look absolutely terrifying. I really don't think since the movie Aliens has an extraterrestrial scared me this much, and I love that unlike movies like Alien or The Thing, where the creatures are in the shadows, these aliens are everywhere. Their movement, which obviously was meant to resemble wild animals, reminded me instead of the zombies created by Zack Snyder, as well as in the movie World War Z, as they continually swarm at the characters with reckless abandon and tear apart their victims once they attack. These creatures have 4 legs and 2 arms, while also having 2 tentacles on their back that shoot out the white spikes that they are named after. I really like how these creatures move, and even with the use of their tentacles, there was a very raw and animalistic nature to their movements that made them all that more frightening. This film lands on the common sci-fi trope of having a race of male drones ruled by a female queen, similar to what we see in any hive mind species. While this makes the creatures very effective as mindless drones who take orders from one source, it also exposes a weakness that is often exploited by our heroes, but I think this film does a good fake out between the second and third act that subverts the audience expectation. At first, the fact that they kept missing their targets with the spikes and the fact that the aliens are white made them seem like stormtroopers to me from the Star Wars movies who almost never hit their targets. But as the movie went on, I thought this gave the film a greater sense of realism, as if these are feral creatures, it's doubtful that they would be sharpshooters too. They are also mostly covered in armor, which allows them to throw their bodies into moving objects like armored Humvees and flip them over. Their only weak spot is under their necks as well as their bellies, and they can glide in the air as well as swim. The movie suggests that there is only one female, and that the female reproduces other male drones at a quick enough rate to dominate the population of Earth in only a few years. The female also has a different cry than the males do, and can contact male drones from miles away. The female seems to be more resilient to toxins as well as sedatives, as the scientists working on the creature are unable to control it. At the end of the second act in the future, the female is able to trigger the destruction of the human race by calling an army to her location, which ends the war in dramatic fashion, as Dan Forrester is sent back to the present with a toxin that can kill the alien. Truthfully, one of my favorite aspects of this film is the second act, and in turn the pacing of the entire film, as it really seems that the movie could be over after the second act is finished and Dan Forrester has returned to the past after the destruction of the time machine. By the end of the film, it really feels like you have binge-watched a season of a streaming series more than a movie, as the story has a lot of development from different characters that occurs over time and different parts of the world. Speaking of character development, I really enjoyed the different characters that inhabit this story, and I think it works best that most are not highly trained soldiers. This is another aspect of the zombie film genre that can be applied here, in which you see normal people taking on these monsters and displaying acts of bravery that you would not normally associate with them. One of the most powerful parts of the film for me is when the characters played by comedians Mary Lynn Roskup and Mike Mitchell sacrifice themselves after Forrester and others attempt to save them. Much like how Ripley started out in Alien as just a person working on a cargo freighter and turned into the last person standing after multiple films in the franchise, it shows how anyone can be courageous if it is in their character. Another character like this is the Dorian character played by Edwin Hodge. The fact that he knows that he has cancer at first makes him believe that he has nothing to live for, similar to the character Walter White from Breaking Bad, but it also makes him heroic not only for his sacrifice, but for his bravery in taking on his own fate. Once Dan does return, he is determined to fix the future, even though because of the current state of the world, he does not have a lot of help from the government to do it. I also thought it was very powerful how the film shows the effects of post-traumatic stress, including with the James Forrester character played extremely well by a ripped J.K. Simmons, how veterans from past wars have had to deal with their experiences and the lasting effects it has. Even Pratt's character cannot get away from his past as a soldier, but in the end it probably saves his life. Throughout the movie, the characters discover that while these are aliens that landed on Earth, as their counterparts in the future have stated, that they are not aware of the correct location or year this occurred. It also becomes evident that they were stowed away on a spaceship that crashed on Earth many years ago, and due to global warming, they will be thawed out from the ice, and this is when they begin their attack. We also see that the ship they were being carried on was piloted by another species of alien that died in the crash, and that these aliens are used as biological weapons. For those of you that have watched Prometheus and its sequel Covenant, know that the xenomorph species started out in a similar manner before it was further bioengineered by the android David. In the end, father and son are able to work together to defeat the female alien, with an assist from Charlie, played well by Sam Richardson, who also goes through a huge character arc in this movie. The film is rumored to be the first in a possible franchise, so don't be surprised if we learn there was another ship buried under the snow. I really enjoyed the film and thought it brought a lot to the table and executed what it set out to be. I could see people complaining that perhaps there is too much in this movie and some could have been left out for a sequel, but nothing in this world is guaranteed, and if this is the story that the writer and director set out to tell, I think they did a very good job. Well, that was what I thought of the Tomorrow War, but let me know in the comments what you think. For the next giveaway on the channel, I will be giving away this 6-movie Blu-ray box set of the Alien movie franchise. All you have to do to be entered is to like and comment on a video and be a subscriber. But for this contest, I need you to be subscribed to this channel as well as my newer channel WDIM Plus as well. I put out more great videos there about movies and series that are not sci-fi, so being subscribed to both just means that you will for sure know when all my new videos come out, and I will have links in the description as well as at the end of the video to that channel if you would like to check that out. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?